Playtime is over. Get your Prepared Mind merchandise to show your support for the channel, stop censorship, and to tell YouTube they can smoke it. Get prepared now.
Hello, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. Today we're going to stick with some more prepping fun stuff. We're going to talk about food. Food when shit hits the fan. You gotta have it. Gotta have it. So food is number one. We always say food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Food is number one, right? You're going to die without water, as we discussed, but you're going to die without food also. Typically, when you find a water source, you can keep going back to it and getting more, kind of like the old watering hole. But food is a little trickier, right? Vegetables, they take a while to grow. And meat, right? Meat tends to want to run away and hide and not become dinner. So, food is a tricky one when shit hits the fan. Now, as preppers, we can store as much as we can ahead of time. But the other day, I was talking to a fella, and he says, hey, I'm a prepper. And I said, great. I'm a prepper too. So let's talk. And so we did. Anyways, this guy, we get to talking about food, and he says, well, I got about 3 months worth of food, so I can make it 6 months. And instantly the alarm bells went off. I was thinking, okay, you got 3 months worth of food and you're gonna live 6 months. What the fuck are you talking about, man? And he goes, oh, well, I'm gonna hunt and fish. I said, you're gonna hunt? He goes, oh yeah, because I live out in this rural area, we're gonna hunt. And I thought, well, it just, to me it seemed like common sense, but I've been living this a long time. So I sat down with this guy and said, let's really talk about hunting. And I said, okay, you've got this mountainous area you live on. How many deer do you think are there? And he said, oh, there's probably 1,000 deer. And he threw a number out at me. I think it was 1,000. And I said, well, that's a nice number of deer. I said, how many people live there? He goes, oh, about 10,000. I said, so you got 1 deer for 10 people, huh? He goes, yep. I said, how long do you think those deer are going to last? And it was interesting because right at that moment, the dime dropped. He went, oh. I said, yeah, you think you're the only guy that's smart enough to go, you know what, I think I'm going to go get me one of them deer? Anyways, yeah, it didn't occur to him that the deer don't reproduce. Kind of like the garden. You can't go out and just decimate the garden and expect to live on it all year round. It's only going to produce a certain quantity per year in a given area. Same with deer. In a given area, there's only going to be so many deer. That is, the natural wildlife population can only sustain so many human beings. And he went, oh my, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I said, yeah, so you got a problem there with food. So you think you're going to live 3 months on your food and then spend the next 3 months hunting. And he said, well, that was the plan. I said, well, how many people are preppers? And he goes, I don't know, 1 in 10. I said, that's a good round number to work with. Let's go with that, 1 in 10. So the other 9 people, they're not going to wait till their 3-month food supply is gone. They're out there day 1 playing Elmer Fudd. I'm going to get me a Wabbit, right? They're out there on day 1 trying to get food. And if there's 9,000 people that are needing hunting to be done, in this scenario the guy gave me with his population in his area, there's 9,000 people, not 10,000, only 9,000, because the preppers are going to wait. And there's only 1,000 deer. You're going to totally destroy the deer population to get 1 deer to feed 9,000 people. So I go, how many days can 9 people live on 1 deer? And he goes, oh, they'd live a long time, probably a couple of weeks maybe if they did it right. You get a good deer, you dress it out, you got 125 pounds of meat. These are California deer, by the way. 125 pounds of meat, tops, right? And so 125 divided by 9, you get 10 pounds, 10 pounds of meat over a couple of weeks. Yeah, that sounds about right. Well, you just killed every fucking deer on the mountain. They're gone. Whoops, right? What are you going to eat after 2 weeks? You've still got 2.5 more months to go. There's not going to be food. The wildlife population cannot sustain humanity when shit hits the fan. First off, the deer that are dumbasses that like to eat apples out of people's yards, they're going to go right into the oven. We all know that. The ones that are a little wiser, they realize guns are being fired when it's not hunting season. It's funny in California, the does, they don't run during hunting season, but when they have doe tags, they pick up on it pretty fucking quick, and they're gone. So maybe, let's just say 50% of the deer population gets wiped out, and the other 50% heads for safer pastures. Right? They really are smart enough to know what a human sounds like, what we smell like. They know. They're not easy to hunt. It's a pretty interesting sport if you get into the sport of hunting a deer, how they can keep a great deal of distance. It's not as easy as it sounds. That's the other thing, not as easy as it sounds. So let's just say half the deer escape. So you've got 500 deer that need to feed 9,000 people for 3 months. It doesn't work. The math doesn't work. Right now you go from getting 10 pounds per person to 5 pounds per person. That's going to last you a week or less. It's just not enough. It's not going to do it. So hunting when shit hits the fan, people need to understand it's just not viable. It's not going to work. With today's population, it takes industrialized agricultural production, high density farming, to produce enough food for us to eat, right? And same with animals. You need cows, hogs, chickens, right? They need to be grown. They need to have adequate feed. There's an entire system that starts with planting food, and then you feed that to hogs, and planting food to feed to humans, and then we eat the animals. It's a very complicated process. When people go, oh yeah, farming's stupid. I go, really? Where do you think your food comes from, jackass? They don't have a clue, right? It's a very complicated process to get food from the farm to people's plates. So this idea that my prepper friend had, that he's going to wait 3 months and then he'll start doing some hunting. I said, maybe you ought to if that's part of your plan. And for some reason he thinks he needs to go 6 months, and he has 3 months of food. Let's just say he starts hunting at the beginning. I go, okay, now you're out there with everybody else. So you're a prepper, you got 3 months of food, and every 9 out of 10 people that you're going to run across in the happy hunting grounds, they're going to be non-preppers. If the average household in the United States of America has 3 days worth of food, by the end of week 1, you're going to have some hungry hunters. All right. So by the end of the first week, you've got a lot of people that are hungry, and they're out there hunting. Now it's gone from what I referred to earlier as kind of a sport, kind of a cat and mouse, dodge and weave type game between the deer or the prey and the hunter, the man. Now you've got everyone and their brother out there with his daddy's 30-06 or granddad's 30-30, whatever they can get their hands on to go out and find them some food. Now, let's just assume that a lot of them are lucky. They get a deer, and they don't care what it is, right? Whether it's a fawn or a doe, they're just going to shoot anything that moves and drag something home. So after the first week, there might be some limited success. As I stated, a lot of the deer are going to scatter. They know what the season is. But people are going to get hungry, and that deer is not going to last long. So they go out there to do some more hunting. Now there's less deer, there's going to be more hunters, and there's going to be this element of desperation. Serious desperation. It's my opinion that there's going to be a new game being played. People are going to be hunting the animals, and people are going to be hunting the other people. And I'm not referring to cannibalism, not yet. I'm referring to the fact that when someone shoots, today, there's only a few hunters out here these days, but when they shoot, the rifle report other people hear. They hear it. Bam! You're like, someone got something, right? But you can zero in on it. You can get close. When shit hits the fan, if you're out in the woods hunting, and I'd be surprised if you didn't see any other humans, but if you're out in the woods hunting and you shoot a deer or a hog, it doesn't matter, something big, significant, when that happens, others are going to come to it. They're going to come to that sound because guess what they're going to be thinking? I've got a family, I've got a group of people that are counting on me to bring food, and I haven't gotten anything, and everyone's hungry. Everyone's scared. I'm hungry. I'm scared. You're going to see gunfight at the OK Corral at the hunting zones when someone finds a deer, right? Let's just say you get a big one, Rand. You get a big 180-pound buck, right? You gut it, right? And you got to drag that heavy-ass deer all the way back because you don't have food. I'm sorry, you don't have fuel. You don't have a car, right? If you've got a horse, that's a whole nother subject, right? That's a... We'll get to horse, I promise. We'll get right to horse. You're going to have people interested in what you've got. They're going to show up, and there's going to be a couple of things that happen. They're going to tell you what a great job you did. They're going to ask if they have some, if they can have some. They're going to try and barter with you and try and get it off of you. And if they're desperate enough, they're going to fight you for it, or they're going to shoot you before you even know they're there. That's one thing about hunting that never ceases to amaze me, is the number of human beings that get shot at today. Imagine shit hits the fan, right? There's going to be people out there that are not only stupid, but they're desperate. They don't have to announce anything. You just have to understand that as a hunter, when shit hits the fan, you're also the hunted. So how do we get around this? What can we do to mitigate the threat level, the danger? How do we do that? There's a couple things you can do if you have to be out hunting. Now again, if you think you're going to be a clever prepper and wait 3 months, there's not going to be any game left. Right? The odds of getting that deer are slim, or that turkey, or that hog. It's going to be slim because they're going to be hunted out and they're going to be very wary. Even the most fierce animals, predators, know when they're the hunted. A friend of mine comes from an island. He says, oh, we got crocodiles there. I said, really? He says, yeah, but don't worry about them. They don't like humans very much because we hunt them and eat them. I said, oh, okay. He goes, yeah, they know that they're the hunted. These animals will know that they're hunted. So, as a human, you're going to be hunted if you're out there hunting. And if you wait 3 months, as my friend the prepper says he's going to do, there's not going to be anything left. So everyone needs to get out there right away and try killing everything they can right off the bat. And then recognize that if you're going to be out there, you're going to get shot at. Right? Someone's going to try and take what you have, or they're going to preempt you taking anything and just shoot you right off the bat, period. Kind of like a free-for-all. Right? And again, I'm not talking about cannibalism. I'm just talking about them getting you out of the way. But let's just assume that you don't have any choice, right? You need to get that food. If you're going to go hunting, what you're going to want on your side, so that people don't know what you're doing and where you're at, is to be as silent as possible. In your movements, right? Even smell. Don't have loud smell. That's going to be a little trickier to deal with. But, once again, I figured I would bring this bad boy out. Quiet. Crossbow. All right. This is my Barnett Quad 400. It is one hell of a nice crossbow. Now, this will kill a deer. Fast. Right? If you hit it in the vitals, it'll take down a hog, right? Which are practically armor plated. But you can buy these anywhere right now. The other thing you can get that they've really stepped up the technology on are air rifles. And I know you're thinking BB gun. No. These shoot 357, 45 caliber, even 50 caliber, I think. Now, I don't own one. I've only shot them as not a joke, but rather just in passing. Hey, let me try that. Bam, cool. Put it down. Didn't do any testing, no ballistics. But if you're shooting a 125 grain piece of lead, which is what comes out of a pistol or a rifle, and it's moving 800, 900, 1,000 feet per second out of an air rifle, it doesn't matter that it wasn't discharged by gunpowder. It's still moving very quickly. It's still very heavy, and when it hits a deer, it's going to probably kill it. Right? It's not a good move for a deer to get in front of stuff like that. Not as effective, as, in my opinion, as a crossbow. Right? Maybe the range is a little better with the air rifles, but there's just more knockdown power with the crossbolt and a razor-tipped head. But that said, the air rifle is an excellent option. Memory serves me, they make noise. They're not absolutely silent. Again, it's got to build a lot of pressure and just shoot that projectile out there. But, that being said, the crossbow is not silent. That's only in the movies. It makes a good twang noise. But it's way, way quieter than a handgun or a rifle used in a hunting situation. So when shit hits the fan, if you know you need to get out there, if you have to get out there to go hunting, and you're going to take advantage of what game is available in the first couple of weeks of shit hitting the fan, you need to do yourself a favor and have the proper tools. It always comes down to having proper tools to guarantee what? Mission success. Minimize collateral damage, that is being hunted, right? Being shot at, being taken advantage of, victimized, having stuff stolen from you. Last thing you want to do is shoot a deer, have someone walk up, poke you in the back of the head with their pistol and say, give me your rifle, give me your deer, get the fuck out of here. And you're lucky I don't just kill you. Right? That's the best case scenario. You don't want that. So a crossbow or an air rifle for taking down that game is critical. Hot toddy. Okay. Other types of game that are out there are rabbits. You know, you don't want to use a large caliber on a rabbit because there'll be nothing left. You're going to want to use a 22 or an air rifle, something to knock them down so you got the most meat from them. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to be domesticating chickens and rabbits and that sort of thing because they reproduce quickly and they can feed themselves in a lot of ways off the land, because they do now. But if you don't live in an area that's got a lot of hares or jackrabbits or cottontails, you're not going to have a lot of meat and game that way. And the same thing probably exists. If you're out there hunting them, there's a good chance other people are going to be out there hunting them, and you need to be aware. Just because everyone has the same idea doesn't mean you all have the same morals. That's incredibly important to understand, to recognize, and when shit hits the fan, you'd better remember it. Just because you have the same ideas about where to get food, where to get water, the same ideas about defense, it doesn't mean everyone has the same morals. They're going to come from different backgrounds. They're going to have different situations that are going to dictate the decisions they make. Meaning they could be down to 1 day's worth of food where you've got 1 month's worth of food. And you don't know it because you're not absolutely desperate yet, but they are. They know where they're at. And they might just shoot you. Right? So let's talk about horses, where I said earlier, well, if you got a horse, you can drag that deer out. Well, people that have horses, that's an awful lot of meat. 500, 600, 700 pounds of meat or more, depending on the horse. Draft horses, that's a lot of meat. That'll feed a lot of people a long time. You got 2 issues there. One, you shoot that thing, how are you going to get 800 pounds of meat or 500 pounds of meat from where that horse is laying on the ground to where it needs to be, which is your place. And when you get it there, you have to do what with it? You better process it. It's shit, it's the fan. You're probably not going to have electricity. You're going to need to cook it. You're going to need to jerk it. You're going to get it dried out so it's preserved. Maybe you got a bunch of salt. You can pack it with salt, hang it in a cool basement, salt cure it. Whatever your technique is, you better, one, know how to do it, have the supplies, and then, be ready to do it. And if you're cooking the meat, it's going to create an aroma. 500 pounds of cooking horse is going to send off an awful lot of smell. And you think now, boy, I don't know if horse smells good. Well, it's on the menu. That's right. You can go to a lot of restaurants, except in California, and you can get horse meat. Right? It's on the menu around the world. What's that tell us? It tastes good. Horse, dog, cat, everything. When people are starving and shit hits the fan, is going to taste good, and people are going to be willing to kill for it. I mean, now, just to speak, just average normal stuff. You're like, man, I'm hungry. I'm so hungry I could kill someone. We say that now, and you're not even desperate. You're not even that hungry. I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. Right. Instantly you're like, I'll eat anything, put it in front of me. So horses and other livestock that we normally don't think, they're going to be taken. So if you think you got a fine transportation system in a horse, I had horses when I was married. That's a walking meal. You're going to get shot off of your horse, and they're going to walk your horse back to their house and put a bullet in its head. Unless someone puts a bullet in them while they're trying to get the horse back to their house. In other words, when shit hits the fan, food is going to be critical. I talk to you a lot about good quality food, nutritional food, healthy food, food that helps us psychologically go, oof, that was a good meal. I feel better about this fucked up situation we're in. Still, when you have no food, any food is going to be heavenly delicious. So you've got to understand that the idea of hunting, if it's in your program, understand realistically how it's in your program, how you can utilize it safely. Same goes with fish. People go, I'm going to go fishing. I go, yeah, you and every other jackass. I go, they got to plant that fucking place once a week during season to keep fish in there for all the fishermen. And there's hardly any fishermen on the lake. A couple of dozen a day, they fish that thing out. What's going to happen when shit hits the fan? Right? Ranger Smith is going to be too busy trying to eat Yogi and Boo Boo to worry about stocking the lake with fresh trout for you and your prepper buddies. It's not going to happen. Lakes are going to be fished out. And what fish are left are going to be the ones with 3/4 of a brain. And those fish aren't going to be eating what's being thrown in. And I think that by time fishermen are that hungry, if they can find a place to dig worms up, they're probably going to start eating the worms rather than throwing them in the water hoping to catch a fish that isn't there. So whatever you're doing, if you've got wild game, hunting as part of your prepper program, it's critical to have a program, a thought pattern, a plan, right? It's all of those things and a plan. You've got to have a plan for it. Do not underestimate any portion of your shit it's the fan plan. Do not count on wild game just being there. Right? The same way you can't count on your neighbor not to turn into a giant asshole and make your life a living hell until either you or someone else puts a bullet through his brain pan. Shit it's the fan is not going to be a fun experience. So, again, if you can, early, food, water, shelter, clothing, get all the medicine you need. If you need prescription meds, do your best to stock up. And of course, right, self-defense. If hunting is part of your program, look into crossbows or regular bow, compound bow, longbow, or these high-powered, high kinetic energy air rifles. They're available all over the place. I think you can get them through the internet even. And if you need any help finding stuff, go to the preparedmind.club. Of course, the preparedmind.club, we've got bows and arrows and crossbolts. We've got a lot of self-defense weapons there that can be turned into hunting weapons. Look into it, right? Look around, see what you see what you like, see if it will work for you and your plan, right? Because chance favors the prepared mind is yours. I'll see you guys later.